Okay, everyone, welcome to Council meeting for the 11th of February 2026. I will open with karakia. Whakataka taho ki te uru, whakataka taho ki te tonga. Kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E hi aki ana si atakura, he tio, he huka, he hohu, tihei, Māori ora. Just with the time that we have today, I will ask for a mover that we adjourn for 15 minutes for the council meeting. We have a mover, Sophie, and a seconder, Tracy. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Great. See you back in 15. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate your patience with our short interlude. I will go to apologies, and everyone being present here today, there is none. Is there any identification of extraordinary business? There being none. Conflicts of interest, so within our agenda we have our register here, and I just wanted to note that Councillor Wilshire and Councillor Larriman have submitted their conflicts of interest. We just need the sheet updated here that is attached to the agenda. And public forum. So today we have Zoran Rakovic here to talk to us about Selwyn Water. So Zoran, I welcome you to the front table. Zoran is a frequent flyer. You have knowledge of the process here, so you have 5 minutes to tell us about your topic, and then there is 5 minutes of opportunity for councillors to ask for any points of clarification, and then we will address public forum at the end of the meeting today. So if you push the right hand button, the microphone will turn red, and I'll hand over to you.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Madam Mayor, councillors, thank you for the opportunity to speak about Selwyn Water Limited. Firstly, I want to acknowledge the councillors who attended last night's public meeting. Your presence mattered. People notice and appreciate when elected representatives show up. In a district where water affects, one way or another, every household, every business, and every ratepayer, attendance at public meetings is both a courtesy and part of the job. I want to be clear about the mood in the community that I perceive. There is a sense that Selwyn Water Limited is a lingering sour point, not because people don't understand the challenges of water infrastructure. They do. And not because people expect things to be free. They don't. The concern is about distance, opacity, and the feeling that decisions are drifting away from the people who pay the bills and live with the consequences. At present, there seems to be a trust gap, and once that opens, it does not close by press releases or reassurances. From what I'm hearing and from what was discussed last night, the community sees two possible paths forward. Both options need honesty through full disclosure. If the Council believes that continuing Selwyn Water Limited is the right long-term solution, then the public deserves a clear, detailed, and accessible analysis of the financial implications. Not headlines, not summaries, but the full picture. What does it cost to establish? What does it cost to operate compared with the in-house delivery? What are the impacts on household bills over 5, 10, and 20 years? What risks are being transferred and to whom? What happens if forecasts are wrong? If this model genuinely stacks up, then show the workings. Put them in front of the community and let the people judge the trade-offs for themselves. That is how confidence is rebuilt. That said, I acknowledge that some information to perform this task may not yet be available. Governance must be also tightened, not loosened. That means transparency that is real, not procedural. It means clear lines of accountability back to you, elected representatives, and ultimately to the public. People want to know who is responsible when things go wrong, who can be questioned and where, what information is routinely made public and what is not. How does the Council exercise control as shareholder on behalf of ratepayers? At the moment, it feels that Selwyn Water Limited sits in an uncomfortable grey zone, too distant to feel democratic, too important to be left unquestioned. The other option is liquidation. The other option is liquidation of Selwyn Water Limited. It is understood that this would come with financial pain. I believe that the community should be presented with a clear financial picture of this option too, to either see the futility of what is now the entrenched situation or accept the financial pain and push for liquidation. I want to stress this. This is not anti-infrastructure, anti-expertise, or anti-progress. It is pro-accountability. Water is not just another service. It is essential. And when governance arrangements around essential services lose public confidence, the cost is not just financial, it is civic. So my respectful request to councillors is this. The community deserves the full picture, regardless of whether Selwyn Water Limited is ultimately disestablished or retained. That means a detailed public analysis of the financial, operational, and risk implications of each option. At present, it seems that it is the council's intention to retain the company. In that case, councillors should also table a clear governance plan, how this council will exercise control as shareholder, how transparency will be guaranteed, how performance will be monitored, and how the company will be made genuinely answerable to the community it exists to serve. There have already been governance meetings with the company, so this task is even more urgent. Importantly, strengthening governance does not need to wait for every piece of information to come back from Selwyn Water Limited. Governance is a council responsibility. It can and should progress now in parallel with urgency as a signal to the community that accountability comes first. Water is too essential and public trust too fragile for anything less. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoran. Appreciate the time that you've put into that. For questions, I have Councillor Wilshire.
Hello, Zoran. Good to see you again.
Councillor.
As a number of us said last night, you were about a day early in having your meeting, unfortunately. And unfortunately, we're here again. A lot of the answers I believe that you were looking for will be presented this afternoon.
Fantastic.
But thank you for expressing your concerns. I believe that everybody in this room shares many of them themselves as well. So we all wait with bated breath.
Thank you for coming to the meeting last night.
All good, mate.
Cool. So, just questions. Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you, Zoran. I appreciated you hosting that last night. I did note that yourself and a number of people said that you don't prefer to receive your communication from the council via Facebook. Perhaps that wasn't you, but there was a number of people that said comms for them, Facebook wasn't the best option. Do you have any indication how you feel the best way to give the detailed amount of information that you require? Be quite heavy reading for the average person. How do you envision would be the best way for us to produce that for the community in a palatable way?
You can perhaps include it with your rates bill. I receive rates bill by email, and there could be an attachment to it for reading, or with a link to a website where you can publish the material. So you can just at the end add a page with a link and say click this link to read about this consultation process or this information. Or if people receive paper rates, maybe you can give them a QR code or tell them to come and read it in the council if you don't want to print 500 pages and put them in the mail. I mean, we live in the world where disseminating information should be reasonably straightforward with a database of ratepayers that you have at hand.
Wonderful. Thank you, Zoran. I appreciate the thought and your attendance here today. And yeah, we will respond to that later in the meeting.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time. And yeah, all the best.
Okay, next on the agenda is my report. Everyone's had the agenda. I'm going to take it as read. I think the comments that I have into that actually is, I wrote this with community in mind and communication with our community, because I publish weekly updates of what I've been doing with councillors via email at the end of the week and also on social media, but I think it's really important to formally record this information as well. So I have written this with community in mind over the Christmas period. As we get into our work program in the new year, I will bring this to more forward-looking items on the Mayor's report. But I am happy to take any questions that you have on my report. First up, I have Elizabeth.
It's a very small thing. I didn't attend the Little Rakaia Boating Club event because they'd changed the dates due to the weather.
Oh, that's helpful.
The dates have been changed. I was going to be going this weekend.
Okay, so Tracy's going to that.
Wonderful, we can clear that up. Thank you.
Yeah,
Lovely.
that
Thanks,
was, I
Elizabeth.
wasn't going
Tracy.
to discuss the little Rakaya flag dropping. I just wanted to make a comment about the reforms and thanks to the team for the website, the section on the Selwyn Council page. I've actually had feedback from people about it, that they've gone to it. I posted links, as did others, that they've gone to it, they've clicked on it, and I've also seen more people asking other people for copies of their submissions as a way of kickstarting. So I just wanted to feed into that part of your report, that there does seem to be a bigger uptake and interest, and people can't care about what they don't know. So thank you, because they are important. There's a lot of them, and they're going to make a big difference.
Yeah, I think, it's really important to communicate with our community. And that's what we had in mind with the team that have developed the webpage and all the communication that has gone on with that. And it's not just our community, we've got other councils approaching us wanting to use our information as well, and quite envious of the work that has happened and the communication we have with our community. But there being no other questions, I'm happy to move my report. Is there a seconder? Sarah? All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, call it carried. We'll move now to updates from chairpersons of committee. So, Evan, I'll invite you to take the table, and I just wonder, while you do that, if we can go to the chair of Finance and Performance, Councillor McGlinchey, and he may wish to give an update on this morning, if you wish.
I think people can watch online, so I won't bother repeating myself.
Noted. And I'll hand over to you, Mr. Evan Frew, the chair of the Melbourne Community Board. Evan, if you just push the right-hand button, the microphone. Yep.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for inviting me along, and looking forward to this. My one's a bit more low-key than some of the other reports I read yesterday on your agenda, so I'm going to talk about 4 things, and not much more. The first one is the initiative within our new board, and trying to make a responsible board in the district and not have a repeat of last term. We've developed a 3-year strategy plan, and Samantha Samuels, board member, has done a lot of work on that. So we've got that, went to our meeting on last week, and it's gone forward to Steve Arias to either tell us we're off track, or anyway, we've made a good start. So I think that's a first for a community board in Selwyn. The other one is we invited Alex from Selwyn Water to come along, and I won't repeat what we've just heard from, but I was disappointed in that address, and all he told us about was the administration setup. But Councillor Very has arranged that 3 of us, I don't know if it's a coffee morning, what it is, but we're going to have a bit of a talk about things. But we in Darfield and Kirwee are very concerned about the rollout for the sewage. When, how, and what it's going to cost. And in my previous experience, when TITAP was put onto the sewage, the council raised a loan, and it was paid back over, I think, 3 or 4 terms, say 12 years. So everybody paid a little bit of the rate to pay the loan off that they incurred. Now, I'm still correct in saying that council companies can borrow money that I can't borrow money for at interest rates. So I don't know how the estimates that have been talked about came up, but that might be due to look at. The review of the halls has caused quite a stir in the district. Now, to many of these local areas, although on paper the halls don't seem to be used much, they're a bit like a marae. They're there, they're part of the infrastructure. People expect to have a hall in the district, and whether it has to be broken even or charged by all the rates that council put on it is another thing. And some people say, well, what do we get for our rates if we haven't got a hall? So I attended the meeting at Springfield the other night, and that's work in progress. We had a good turnout there. So I know we're going to consultation on that soon. Now, another new initiative's come up, and it was presented by Alan Peacock at our meeting on last week, was with the planned expansion of Darfield and the near capacity of both the high school and the primary school, there's going to be a need for additional schooling. Now, in between that concept and the new building for recreation that's on the books, location of where these new schools are going to be and where these facilities are going to be put, that becomes important. And Councillor, Board Member Peacock thought that we should, when we zoning land, zone them for amenities that would always belong to the council, the ground. In other words, the Ministry of Education would rent from the council and pay a ground rent just for the land. All the infrastructure would be at theirs. Now, I've talked to Steve, and we're hoping to get this progress and perhaps have another look at it in April again. But it's an idea that's important because the high school is nearly at capacity and the primary school is nearly at capacity. And if ever you want sewage around somewhere with big users, that's those people. Now, the other one, of course, is important. I think you're going to ratify it today, and that's a delegated authority. It's coming up today, isn't it? Yeah. Well, we're delighted to be delegated the naming, I don't know, call it rights, but certainly we suggest the names. And it's important that we get on with this because there's subdivisions popping up all over the place. And some of the names need to reflect local sort of context. So we would like to have a few more jobs delegated to us. And with the calibre of members we've got some very good people there that can do these kind of things. And John Very keeps an eye on us, so and a big voice. So, we're in good shape. Well, that's briefly my 5-minute wonder. But can I just say, at last meeting we had 4 councillors present. Now, I'm still learning the names of the 2 that I didn't acknowledge, Councillors McLeod and Garrick, but we made touch today. But 4 councillors at our board meeting was a bit daunting for me. I thought, gee, this is a mini council, but we're not a mini council. Anyway, we're glad to see you there, and any other councillors, feel free to come along and sit and listen if you want to. Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Frew. I really appreciate the time that you take to come here and inform us of the important work that the board is doing. It's heartening to hear that you have a plan and you are putting that forward, and I look forward to casting my eye over that too, to see what I can do to help you with that as well. I think I'd like to reiterate the importance of our community halls, and especially for our rural communities. We know that they are the place for our community, and so, it was great to see you at the meeting at Springfield the other night as well. And I think, in my view, the engagement that we're going out with isn't to get rid of everything. It is actually to enable and use what we do have to its best ability to make sure that those spaces are being used by our community, because it's really important. In regards to Selwyn Water, I think that's great. I'm pleased to hear that John has set up a meeting for you with Alex Corbera, the Chief Executive of Selwyn Water Limited, and we are hoping to have further information as well that we will share with the board post Selwyn Water Limited's board meeting, which I believe is today.
Could I just comment about Selwyn Water one thing? Now, there's a new director being required, isn't there, because of the
Yes, there is.
Now, I would like to see a director on that board with some practical experience, either contracting, waterworks, or, a guy that's been on the end of a digger or a shovel or something, or a woman for that matter. But if you get all bureaucrats, you'll get all bullshit, you know. Sorry, don't write that down. What I mean is, you can't, there's no alternative to experience in the industry for which you are regulating. Thank you.
Understood, Mr. Frew, and that is something that is dear to my heart, is making sure that not only is it someone with practical experience, but someone who is also local to Selwyn and understands the lay of our land as well. And Ministry of Education, look, we are trying to have a broader conversation, so it's everywhere for us, not just necessarily Melbourne. But I will go, if anyone has any questions, which is Elizabeth.
Hi, Evan. I'm really excited to hear about the work you're doing on reviewing the halls. Just wondering if there was some way that there could be a presentation for all us councillors, because that is something that's dear to our hearts as well.
Well, we just started the process. We met with Springfield last week. The other residents' associations, we've got Greendale and Glenroy, and those ones still to do Sheffield. So, yes, I think we can take you on board and see what we can come up with.
I'll just go to Steve.
Yeah, so staff will be bringing back the plan, and we're involved in that meeting and worked up in the Springfield meeting last week. So we expect that the councillors will get fully briefed on what the consultation plan is. I know our team are working with Councillor John Berry at the moment too around testing that engagement plan. So you'll definitely get a report.
Thank you, Steve. Denise.
Oh, hi, Evan.
Hi.
Just to say, don't be intimidated by us turning up to your meeting. And I like to come. I mean, I've been coming out for the last year or so. It's really enjoyable to watch a community board, because you're our only community board, and to see it functioning so well and to see it well run by yourself. So thank you. And thank you for coming to speak to us today.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Councillor Berry.
Oh, yeah, as the chair said, the meeting at Springfield really does show the degree of community engagement when you've got a good communications plan, because there were some 75 people there and 46 of them wanted to be put on a mailing list to be kept up to date. So my thanks to the Springfield Community Association for organising the meeting, Mr Gibbling for arranging for staff to attend and speak, that was very much appreciated, and the chair for the support from the community board.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is me finished?
That is you finished. Please, you are most welcome to stay as well. Your paper isn't too far away, so you may wish to hear that discussion. Thank you, Evan. All right. We will move on to Chief Executive's report. So I will hand over to Interim Chief Executive Steve Gibbling.
Thanks, Mayor Lydia. Councillors, I'm going to take the report as read. I guess just noting the effort that the team have put into the reform website. I'm not going to reiterate Tracy's comments, but you're happy to take any questions on this report.
There being no questions, I will ask for a mover that we accept the report, which is Aaron, and a seconder, John. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, call it carried. Moving on, we have the public report here on our submissions on legislative reform. So there is a suite of submissions attached to this paper. We have the resolutions in front of us here. You also have them in your agenda. And so what we are doing is there are a couple that are retrospective, but most of them we are getting ahead of time. And so I'm actually really grateful for the work that has gone into this as well, because this is not easy stuff. That happens. It doesn't just take 5 minutes to pull a submission together. It is a lot of thought, it is a lot of reading, and I know a lot of councillors and a lot of the team spent their summer holidays reading reforms, and I can tell you that it isn't that enjoyable, but it is a piece of the work that we need to do. So as a thank you to all of our staff and for Tim for holding the space to pull all of this together. I'm very thankful that you held that role, trying to pull everyone's views and incorporate everything into there. I'll go to, if we have any questions on anything here, noting that everyone has had opportunity to feed into the reforms we have in front of us, and there is still development levies to come as well at some point, so we will have to end up with a retrospective for that. So I'll go to Tracy first.
I don't know that it's a question, so you can relax. What I wanted to say was I did too spend that, but I kind of like it. So it wasn't the hardship that perhaps the Mayor found, but that's because it sat in my sweet spot. So I've done 3 or 4 personal submissions myself, so I get the work that you have to do, but unlike me, you have to take on board a number of different ways of viewing it from the organisation's point of view. So I just wanted, like the webpage, I just wanted to commend all those who've been involved, and that I appreciated as a councillor the opportunity at part of the process to have a look and to offer any thoughts or suggestions about a direction, going in a particular direction or another, and I know a number of colleagues fed into that process too. So for me, I thought that it was a really good example of a collaborative piece of work between the councillors and the staff, and I think that that's something that after 3 months I think that we could all embrace as being a positive thing, that there was a real sense for me anyway of staff and councillors working for the same purpose, which was how will this legislation affect our organisation's ability to deliver what the people of Selwyn District want and deserve. So well done to everybody. Please pass on to team members from me.
Thank you, Tracy, much appreciated. There being no other questions, we will put the resolutions, and so they are resolutions 1 through 8, and the submissions that we are endorsing today is Simplifying Local Government, Emergency Management Bill, which is the second one, Planning Bill and the Natural Environment Bill, the Rates Target Model, which is also known as Rates Capping, the Building Amendment Bill, or known as Earthquake Prone Buildings, and the Public Works Amendment Bill. And the last resolution there is just to delegate to the Interim Chief Executive and myself to make any minor edits that we might need to do ahead of lodging those. So is there a mover to accept those? Tracy, is there a seconder? Denise, all those in favour please say aye. Aye. Against? Call it carried. Thank you. Next paper here we have is the Melbourne Community Board road naming delegation. So we have this in front of us, and I will hand over to Interim Chief Executive Steve Gibling and Sophie Mears, Senior Legal Counsel.
Thank you, Mayor Lydia. Look, I think we can again take this report as read, but it's on the step of working towards localism and supporting the community board. Having worked with the community board for over a year now, and seeing their desire to really grab hold of those local issues and represent the local interest in the Melbourne, this is, as we've noted in the report, a first small step towards what delegation could look like in a community board setting. And so really happy to put this paper through today on behalf of the board, so that we can do the little thing which might start the journey. So happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions on the paper? Councillor Wilshire.
I just wanted to clarify that we won't be naming those who haven't dearly departed us yet. So I just want to make sure that there's no Big Red Boulevard or Samuel Wilshire Ways yet. Yeah. We'll look it out in the future though, big fella.
Sam, it's a very good question. Yeah. No, now this won't. The process of naming these will not be inconsistent with how council names roads across the district. The delegation requires that the community board has to follow the same naming convention and policy that council does, and that will be covered in that. So you won't see your name up yet.
Good, and don't plan to make me deceased either. Thank you.
Wonderful. Councillor Berry.
Yeah, and my understanding is that the developer is the person who has the option to put forward names, and then it comes through the council and the roading team provide a report, and whereas in the past it went to the community board who then recommended it and had to come back to the council, and the poor officers had to rework the report and submit it. So I think it's an efficiency step and is a step in the right direction, and hopefully the first of many.
Wonderful. Are there any other questions? Look, I think, and you're right, John, it's around efficiency. Why should we be weighing in? We have the community board. We need to enable the community board to do the great things that they do and have genuine partnership with them. So, look, I'm very supportive of this. You have policy to work through, and I look forward to seeing the outcomes that you have there. Is there a mover to the resolutions in front of us? Councillor Berry, and a seconder, Councillor Munt. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Call it carried. Congratulations, Mr. Frew. You have a new job. We will now move on to the public report to grant leases and licences over recreation reserve for the Rolleston Men's Shed and the Springfield Sheffield Toy Library. I will invite Head of Acquisitions, Disposals, Leasing and Property to the front table here and hand over to you.
Thank you. This report seeks to council approval to formalise the occupation of council-administered land and buildings by two established community organisations, the Men's Shed Charitable Trust at Foster Park, Rolleston, and the Sheffield and Springfield Toy Library in the former Plunkett Rooms in Sheffield. Approval is required under the Reserves Act and, where applicable, the Local Government Act 2002 to grant the proposed lease and licences. While certain powers under the Reserves Act have been delegated to Council by the Minister of Conservation, these powers cannot be further delegated to Council officers, and therefore a formal Council resolution is required. This proposed arrangements recognise existing community use and provide legal certainty and clearly define the rights and responsibilities of all parties, while supporting the continued delivery of valuable community services. Please note that there is a correction to the resolution that the statutory basis, being the Reserves Act and Local Government Act 2002, that statutory basis should drop down into the box below. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the paper that we have in front of us today? Councillor Wilshire.
Just in future, can we please have the key next to the map, so that I'm not scrolling back through pages to find what we're talking about and then forwards again? Thank you.
Okay. Councillor McLeod.
It's not obvious to me, but it may be obvious. The Sheffield and Springfield Toy Library, 5 years with one right of renewal of 5 years. What happens in 10 years?
We'd have a discussion at that point.
Rediscuss the thing. Got you.
Renegotiate.
Thank you. That's it. Renegotiate.
Wonderful. Councillor Munt.
Yeah, so obviously going out to have a discussion with them about the lease costings. Is there any indication to us at council will there be much change to what they're paying currently?
It will be set in alignment with the reserves charging policy. So there is intended to be a slight increase to the toy library, which they've accepted, and the Men's Shed are just paying additional for the extension on the same square metre basis.
Okay, all right. So both parties are happy with the lease prices?
Yes, they've viewed it.
Thank you.
Councillor McInnes.
Yeah, cheers team. Thank you for this. Just a quick question. I'm happy to move the resolutions, the recommendations, but on 4.2 of the report, it mentions that there's an absence of an applicable reserve management plan. I was just wondering if anyone could speak to what triggers the need to have one or not.
Yes, I think in the written response I put through to you, that actually sits with
the Open Spaces team in relation to that. And I've requested timings from them of the schedule of works to put in place reserve management plans. A lot of these will be omnibus plans, so it'll include, where it's similar, the standard set of conditions. When a reserve management plan is in place, it normally discusses the need and an ongoing objective to put in place, at least for this particular body. When there's not a reserve management plan in place, we have to go out to public consultation, which we've already done. It's reported in here. But as soon as I get the schedule of timings for that work, I'll forward that back.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there any more questions? There being none, Councillor McInnes has moved. Is there a second? Sarah, all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Call it carried. Thank you very much. I think you stay in place there because we have the next report, which is the water easement over a recreation reserve.
Fiora Astley's not here today, so I said I would present the paper for her. The purpose of this report is to seek Council's approval for the granting of a water easement over the recreation reserve located at 35 Wakariri Avenue, Lincoln, pursuant to Section 48 of the Reserves Act 1977. The easement is required to enable the installation and protection of new water supply infrastructure that supports the ongoing residential development occurring on adjoining land. Council has received a resource consent application for Stage 2 of the Earlsbrook subdivision, which is contingent upon connecting the existing water supply network through the reserve. The proposed easement will allow Selwyn Water Limited, as a district's drinking water services provider, to own and maintain the new water main infrastructure once installed. The works have been designed to minimise impacts on the reserve land and will involve trenchless installation techniques in sensitive areas. Approval from Council is required because powers to grant easements over reserves delegated by the Minister of Conservation cannot be further delegated to officers. Granting this easement will ensure the development can proceed as consented, maintain appropriate legal documentation on the land register and support the provision of essential infrastructure for new residents in Lincoln. Happy to take any questions.
First up questions is Councillor McGlinchey.
Thanks, Rob. Just a quick clarification. Point 4.6 is that works not to occur within 10 metres of a spring. I'm just checking for my own reassurance, I guess, that someone more expert than me can tell me that that is an appropriate buffer to make sure that we don't cause any damage to the spring. Yes, I believe that was included in the consent conditions as well, so it would have gone through the appropriate channel. Great, thank you.
Wonderful. Councillor Munt.
I was wondering, Rob, if we could do a different deal and actually put it on the springs and take some of the water out of there because we're having problems further downstream. Rather than running a water main, just...
Is that your question?
Yeah, that's a new question. Can we do that, Rob?
I
we
don't think
cannot.
it's part of this report.
Councillor Larriman.
I like that idea, Councillor Munt. I noticed there that it says that the engineering team approval for Earlsbrook has to be done on the design. Has the engineering team within staff reviewed this and approved the design?
I'm not sure at this stage. I can come back to you on that. It is part of the process and it will be worked through by them. And I think it will probably be subsequent to this approval coming through.
And I think that that is probably the sticking point, because without that design, I wouldn't feel confident, as Councillor McGinty said, that the thrusting option for this trenchless does not contact the aquifer, where those springs, where they come from in their areas. I would be very concerned if the engineering have not reviewed the decision or the design.
Understand. We can ensure that that happens.
Councillor McLeod.
4.11, I just wanted to, it says there that there will be a temporary period of construction and reinstatement works. What is their definition of temporary period? How long are they thinking it'll take?
I don't know. That's something that will be dealt with when the final details come in.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Are there any other questions for Rob today on this? I have Councillor Carrick.
So this wasn't included in the original plan for that subdivision?
The reserve was in place before the actual development comes in, so as part of the consent process, it would show the connection through council's reserve. So it is a process that has come in as part of the consent.
Okay. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with Reece because of the issues that we've had on the other side of Lincoln with springs that were unknown. I think we might need to know more about exactly how close it is to the spring and, yeah, if they have a full understanding of what's going on there. Thanks.
I'd just like to add that I did a bit on this. There is the option to stay out of the reserve and go through private land. I see that there's 2 sections there that could go through. So just as a suggestion, maybe the developer may, in the cost of the pipe, take that infrastructure somewhere else that it doesn't have that risk, if there is indeed a risk with the springs.
Potentially, yes. As I say, as part of the consent application and conditions granted was to put that through the council reserve.
Yeah, and so that line of
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Councillor McInnes.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. We're just being asked to approve or not an easement, not the consent. The consent still has to go through engineering and we'll go through all of those checks. This is just the part of, are they allowed to use the reserve?
Correct.
And if they don't meet the consent conditions, they won't be using the reserve at all anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's part of the statutory process under the Reserves Act, Section 48, that you have to have a resolution of council to grant the easement through a council reserve.
Thank you, and yeah, thank you for the clarification point. I think that's important to note that there's still more process to go through. We are, granting an easement or not. Pardon? You're happy to move the paper, Elizabeth? Right, is there a seconder for the paper in front of us? Councillor Barnsley. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Call it carried. Thank you very much. We will move on to the next paper, which is the recommendation on a notice of requirement by the Minister of Education for a designation of education purposes, which is a primary school, early childhood and specialist hub at Hamptons Road, Prebbleton. I will invite Jocelyn Lewis, our Senior Policy Planner, and we have Emma Larson here as well, and they sit underneath Robert Love, Executive Director of Development and Growth. So I will hand over to Jocelyn and Emma.
Good afternoon. Before you is a resolution on, or recommendations on the notice of requirements, as Mayor Lydia said. Essentially, the Ministry of Education has purchased a parcel of land in Prebbleton with the intention of, or the desire to establish a primary school. What is before you is an RMA, Resource Management Act process. We are required, when the Minister has provided us with a notice of requirement for designation, to consider that under the requirements of the Resource Management Act, and then make decisions on that. Those decisions are recommendations back to the Minister, and the Minister then makes the final decision. So the recommendations are that the notice of requirement that was provided is accepted but modified as per the technical assessment that's accompanies an attachment B, and that we advise the Minister that we proceed with the designation and not publicly notified, non-notified basis.
Wonderful. I'll go for questions from people, and first up I have Councillor McLeod.
I see that the developer's been spoken to and all of that jazz, but I presume we're doing the footpaths and crossings and all of that stuff, because the MOE doesn't do that. Is the developer going to do that?
That's correct. The developer does it, and part of the benefit of this site is that they're in the middle of a greenfield development. So the developer and the ministry have been able to, or hopefully will work together to ensure that we get appropriately sized footpaths in proximity to the school.
Yep, and crossing?
And crossings, if the alignment of works out. But that's, as been alluded to, there is an agreement with the developer in relation to the sale and purchase that will put those in place.
Fantastic, as long as we're not paying. Fantastic.
We try not to.
Thank you. Councillor Berry.
Yeah, I suppose in relation to 2.2, just a generic comment that I understand time constraints, however, maybe thought could be given to providing a briefing within 2.2 so that there is some background. Moving on, and my planning is even worse than my financial information. The purpose of having the provision of notification or no notification, I know it's probably covered by an Act of Parliament, but I would have thought that given the size of the school, some 800 pupils potentially, that they're going to have in my terms, special education unit of some 15 students, and it's going to be open and accessible. And I note the review that was done by the specialist traffic report, but it just seems to me, from a governance point of view and not having any technical expertise, that it's a fairly significant change. I accept it's a new subdivision and that there is sign-off from the developer on the immediate neighbouring sections. But looking at schools generally, especially the after-school hours when people arrive, because these days it's ideal to have the walking school bus, but I don't see too many of those in the district, and I can't imagine they'd be terribly popular in Prevelton. It just seems I'd like a little more information as to what were the criteria that the planner felt confident saying the adverse effects are no more than minor or de minimis.
I think there's two aspects to consultation. One is the requirements under the Resource Management Act, and the other is just general consultation with the community in a wider sense. Under the Resource Management Act, we are required to consider whether notification is required because there will be an effect, and in making that assessment, the written approval of adjoining landowners, which in this case is the developer, extends the range of where we can consider effects. So if the adjoining property owner, the land developer, has given their written approval, we can't consider the effects on them. So in that sense, the effect of a school is immediately felt. Well, it's not always immediately felt, but it's felt quite localised to the site, and that immediate neighbour, the developer, has given their approval. So on that basis, there's consideration has been given that there's no effects. There's also a greenfield site, so there's nobody to consider in that regard. In the broader sense of consultation, in some respects, this process starts kicking off that discussion with the community that the ministry has got plans to establish a school in that location, and those other things that you were talking about, they are outside of the resource management framework, but they will be conversations, I imagine, that will start to be had between the school board and the community and as they go forward.
Thank you, Jocelyn. I'll just go to Steve.
Yeah, thanks. And probably to John's first question around the briefing, there is a fulsome briefing coming through Bob and the team within the next 3 to 4 weeks around a range of planning topics, and this will be also shared with the Melbourne Community Board in April, around our work and our ability to influence decision making around where schools and other public services go that we don't really have control over, but we have a significant degree of interest in making sure they're here.
Thank you. Councillor Barnsley.
Yeah, this may be picked up with Bob and his report, but obviously pedestrian crossing safety has been top of mind for the Prebilton community lately, and I note that in the report there there are mitigating efforts that are required by the developers to ensure pedestrian safety. And certainly one of the areas of tension with the community has been around traffic movement, traffic safety, traffic flows, etc. How much will that be considered within the NOR plan that we've received? Do we know the details of the mitigation circumstances? And I guess, where does this intersect with our bigger spatial plan, our traffic flows through Prebilton, especially down that Hamptons Road area that has been an area of concern for some time?
So the notice of requirement is to designate the land.
Yeah.
The actual built form will come later. And so part of the recommendation on the notice of requirements is conditions that respond to school travel management plans and the like. The subdivision where the site sits, the school, having that school in there now, there'll be consideration in terms of engineering design for footpaths and the like. And then the, sorry, I had a third point and I've forgotten what it was. Should have made a note.
Kind of cycleways for kids, stuff like that, or is that too specific?
A lot of that falls outside of the sphere of what this process does. I know that council, other areas of council work with the ministry, with the schools and themselves to work on plans of how the community, how the school children can get to and from safely. For me, they sit outside of the process that is before us today in the resource management sense.
Yeah, sure. No, I mean, fundamentally, it's great to have provision of more education for Prebilton. Thank you.
Councillor Carrick.
Hi. I apologise if I'm a bit passionate about this subject. First of all, I was slightly confused about the paper saying that we should have had a briefing, but we didn't get a briefing, but it sounds like we're going to get a briefing, so that's good. And I have put in questions previous to this, and like John, I do question whether the results of it are less than minor. I think what I'm saying here is similar to Sarah. We've talked about the MOE will do the road safety within the site of the school. The developer will do the roads and the pavements around that particular area. But where are we going to find the money for the rest of Prebilton town? Because they've put both primary schools are now on one side of Springs Road, so we will definitely need, I mean, they've needed more crossings on Springs Road now for about a decade, and they haven't got them because we haven't done them. We've scraped together, I believe I spoke to the lovely school safety lady this morning, we've scraped together 15,000 for the upgrade of the crossing in Prebilton as it is. So I don't know where is the money going to come from to support all of this. We need a bigger plan of how that's going to happen, because it's not just that subdivision, it's going to affect the whole of Prebilton, and 850 plus staff is a lot of traffic movement, not just in that subdivision but in that wider area that's already quite gridlocked. So is there any funding, or like where does that money come from?
I can probably take some of this, if you like. I think I can see how, this is linked, because it is a concern around the bigger impacts around Prebilton when we put a school in. But I think what we're asking today is to designate some land. There's still a whole lot of other process that sits alongside this. And, you know, when we are talking about money, there are going to be DCs that come off this subdivision as well. And so, yes, we are going to have to work together for infrastructure, but...
So there will be a future plan for road safety generally around Brabelton? Because that's the feedback that I've had from the community. That's you know, of course we want the school. Everybody wants the school. They need the school. There's no question about that. But it's just making sure that it is safe.
Yeah, and look, yeah, I hear you too.
Okay.
And you know, I think road safety is important for all of our communities, and how we do that. But I can go to Tim as well.
Thanks for the question, Denise. Maybe another session I can set up with the road safety team, and we can have a chat, talk it through with you if you like.
I did talk it through with her this morning, and she was quite worried as well as to where that money was coming from, and she did use West Rolleston School as another example of where this has happened. So perhaps we need to have some learnings from the past.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, look, I hear you. It's hard, right? We're asking for Ministry of Education to invest in our communities because we want more schools, but with that come people and kids and commuting, and you know, it is something that is taken into consideration. You know, reading the reports of the transport effects, I think that the team are across and understand what is going to happen there, and this is why we take transport DCs for projects around developments as well. We will go to Councillor McInnes.
Kia ora, ladies. And regarding something like West Rolleston, like the good part is that when West Rolleston School was built, the ministry didn't realise how quickly that entire subdivision would go up. They didn't reserve any land for it. So when they had to build a school, they were on the outside of the subdivision, outside the town limits, as they were at the time. Thankfully, the Ministry of Education started paying attention to plan changes, and even through this one back in, 2022? There's acknowledgement that, okay, we probably need to talk to the developer about putting a school here, and here it is. But yeah, my question, so I do have two questions, and I'm not sure if you can answer either of them. Some of it, one's relating to what Denise was just asking about. So several times in your report, it mentions the role of the school road safety officer and our road engineering team. And I'm just wondering, so we've seen with several of the other greenfield subdivisions with schools in them, like, for instance, Te Rohirewhio, Te Rohorapito just opened. That's where this sort of thing has played out. Do we have any idea, or does anybody, maybe Tim, I don't know, how much attention do the developer pay to the advice that our road safety team and our road engineers are giving them regarding this is how people move around a school at certain times of the day? Like, do they already have in their head, this is what we're going to do? Or do they go, oh, okay, we're willing to admit that the driveway needs to be wider for a bus or something like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So some of the details still to come. Obviously, as Jocelyn's alluded to, this is a process to identify this site as suitable for a school, and there's a further process step, the outline plan approval, and you'll note that a lot of the conditions are tied to that outline plan approval process, and that's where we start to see things like the school travel plan. We can assess and make recommendations on things like the layout of the site, the parking, the circulation, the access, egress, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think the ministry take on the recommendations of the council, but ultimately the decision is on both this notice of requirement and the outline plan that comes later. The decision is the ministry's. So yeah, all of those competing priorities, funding, you know, all of that comes into play. So
yeah, especially when they're moving with such a speedy time frame. I'm just worried that this one's going to be one of the ones where the decisions are mostly made already, and they just need us to do the more. But the other question I had was also in the conditions. So I noticed that it talks about
several times that in the partially operative district plan, the trigger for looking again at things like the travel plan or the noise plan and everything is 100 students, and what's suggested now is 6 classrooms, but we know that 6 classrooms is more like 150 plus children. That's actually quite a different number. Is there any appetite to try and see if they would agree to changing that to 4 classroom spaces, if that's the new metric that we're using?
The officer's report sets out why the ministry has changed from students to classrooms, but certainly putting in a different metric there, 4 instead of 6, is well within the scope of what this council can do. We are making a recommendation to the minister on the conditions that we think should be included in the district plan, and if we have concerns about those figures, we want to add in additional conditions or requirements in the plan, that's well within our abilities to do so.
Yeah, I get that the minister at the end of the day gets to sign off whatever she feels is appropriate. I know it's only a small thing, but it's like, well, we said 100 and you're pushing the envelope a bit. So I'd love to see 4, is all.
One of the things I will note is that the way that the conditions, because when the notice of requirement came to us, it came to us with a suite of recommended desired conditions, and that's what we have put in front of you with modification. And one of the modifications that we are suggesting back is that the 6, it could be a death by 1,000 cuts. You never actually do 6, you do 5, you do 3, you do 8. Sorry, not 8, 2, and then all of a sudden you've done more than 6. So it's that cumulative number that if they do piecemeal developments, but at some point in time they will go over the 6, and we want to know at that point. So if you'd like that number to be a different number, I will say we don't have necessary evidence to support that, but equally I'm just trying to reflect on what was in the application, what came from the ministry around where they drew the line at 6 or what they had support for that.
But you're right regarding the cumulative nature of it. If anything, that's probably more important. Yeah.
Big Red.
Looking forward to your session, Robert. It's going to be grand. I look at this, guys, and I go, we've got Shands Road, Springs Road, Trents Road, Hamptons. You drop a line in the middle and you're putting a school there. Like, it couldn't be a safer location for a school. Yes, we've got Springs Road to deal with. I do that off the back of Sophie. Yes, we've learnt from West Rolleston School. Look round Selwyn. Since then, we've opened up Lincoln. Look at the location of the second Lincoln Primary School. Look at Lemonwood Grove. Look at the one in Ackland Park, and look at the latest one down in Albert Green. Very similar designs here. I'm not sure if buses go to Lemonwood, Ackland Park, or the other one. I no doubt there'll be buses that go to this here. But there's a role where we've actually got to step away and actually stop pointing the finger at council and stop pointing the finger at government for the safety of kids to walk to school. Like, that becomes a parent's obligation. And I think we've just got to actually let council, let the ministry, and get on the roll and keep this here rolling and make it happen. That's my 2 cents worth there. Yep.
Councillor Wilshire.
Hi,
Questions?
thank you. I think it's going to be great. More schools, please. Pile them up. Just one thing I noticed regarding the noise levels for decibel rating, maybe just keep in mind that your average jug in your kitchen boils at around about 90 decibels, so 55 decibels, quite low. So just, maybe just something to keep in mind.
Are there any other questions, Mr. Larriman?
Yeah, true question. Tim, we've had a bit of time on this, have we done this notification, so 100% positive, do we have a cost implication for our horizontal infrastructure from the school? And what that's going to do for our sewer and water?
I'd have to come back to you on that, Reece.
There's been no...
I'm not saying there hasn't been, I just don't have that information.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll just go to the team down the end there.
Sorry, I was just, originally this site was planned for residential development. So there's the X number of houses that are not going to occur now in the favour of a school of X number of students. So there won't be a loss or an excessive demand because the land and the consideration was given to that for residential households. So I hope maybe that might allay your concerns.
But if it didn't include the school, then potentially...
You need your mic on.
Cleared me. Thank you. Surprised somebody considered me. That's great. The 800 more potential people there is a volume that is a lot of households when it's just considering the household numbers. And I also go back to the Stantec report where it relates to all the roading widths being residential and not allowing for a school. So I was just wondering whether council had done any work in that expansion for the horizontal. So, yeah, that's right.
Wonderful. Look, I'm going to ask for a mover for the paper. Is there someone to move to designate the land for school or recommend that? Councillor Munt, is there a seconder? Councillor Larriman. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Call it carried. Everyone, that brings us to the end of the public papers. Do we want to address public forum now, Mr. Gibbling?
If we can do that at the conclusion of the meeting, that would be good.
Okay. No problem. Can I please have someone move a resolution to exclude the public? Councillor Barnsley and Councillor Larriman. All those in favour, please say aye.
Thank you. Councillors, in regards to the public forum from Mr. Rakovich, I guess there's probably 3 or 4 key points that he made that I think we can respond to. One is around the communication of the budgets, which will start to clarify how Selwyn Water are delivering services to our community, and we understand that that's imminently coming into our organisation. The second one Mr. Rakovich talked about was how does this council set expectations for the board of Selwyn Water? And as you know, we'll be discussing the statement of expectations, and once we've set that, then that would be the form of how we communicate that more broadly to understand what that relationship is between governance and council and governance at Selwyn Water Limited. In terms of, we will take on board the feedback around the communication channels, around our connection with Facebook, and obviously council as a whole, and I know Selwyn Water Limited are looking at all the various mechanisms by which we get our information out there. And the media release that has just gone out in regards to Selwyn Water does to a degree touch on some of those elements as well. So that's probably what I'm proposing to go back to Mr. Rakovich with, if you're all comfortable with that.
I'm comfortable. Is everyone else comfortable with the approach and the reply to them? Wonderful. Thank you, Steve. And I will close with karakia. So, unihia, tapo, kia wātia, ai, kua wātia. Thank you, everyone, for a very productive meeting today.